Fighting crime, trying to save the world. Here they come just in time. The Powerpuff Girls. I really missed that part. Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, talking about the latest episode of the Powerpuff Girls. This is episode 12, the Wrinklegruff Girls, and we are now down to one episode a week, so I'll be talking about these singularly instead of in chunks like I was with the first couple weeks when they were all being aired in a single week. This is our obligatory rapidly aging episode. Finally have an episode of the Powerpuff Girls where they all get really super old, and this is kind of a retread of a Dexter's Laboratory episode where Dexter did kind of this exact same thing. It was hoping to get older and trying to grow up too fast and didn't like people looking at him like a baby and not paying attention to him, and then he became an elderly man, and there's kind of a lot of jokes and poking fun at the inevitably us all getting old and the kind of standard stereotypes of being elderly and that kind of thing, and this one does it too, and does it in a very, very similar way. Honestly, there's not a lot of new ground here except for the somewhat more optimistic take on the whole scenario of all of the kids around them start to take them more seriously and appreciate them, respect them, when they were bullying them for being babies before. I kind of liked that. I enjoyed that at the end we have kind of, and this is kind of a repeat ending from a previous episode of the same series, but it's in the 2016 series, but it's a little bit like Buttercup getting with that gang that was initially paid off by Princess Morbox, and then coming to her aid at the end because they respect her more than they do the princess, and it's about the princess. It's not Toadstool. Than they do Princess Morbox, and it's of course about loyalty, and this we kind of have that again, but I kind of enjoyed that. So I'll just go down some notes. First of all, as Manos and I talked about when we did a video on this show early on, I kind of thought that the girls were being aged upward a little bit, and I think that the portrayal of these characters, it is that way, and I think that we are inching closer and closer to what the producers of this show eventually want the new Powerpuff Girls status quo to be, and we're kind of easing us from what Powerpuff Girls used to be into this. Honestly, I don't know that this even needed to be a reboot. I think we could have inched from what we had before into that. We are sort of doing that, but there are enough tweaks and things here and there that it certainly feels like a different continuity. Honestly, it would be pretty easy, with as loose as the continuity was in the first place, to look at this not as a reboot, but as a relaunch. But anyway, apparently they are still in kindergarten. They go to Pokeoke's kindergarten, and there's this amusing business about Bubbles accidentally creating a mutant hamster. I'm trying to remember if that happened in the original series. Again, it's been a while since I've watched those episodes, but I know there was something kind of like that, and that I think it's a hamster, and it is still living in the school, and they can't go back, and so now they have to go to the only other school that's around, which looks like it's a junior high or a high school, and so now we might be turning Powerpuff Girls into a kind of pseudo high school thing, which I don't necessarily love, but there's some other, I guess, social commentary and satire that we can mine there. We were already doing some of that kind of stuff with the kindergarten thing, but it does look like they're trying to skew them a little bit older, and I guess I do kind of enjoy that they are perpetually kindergarten age, but now we've stepped them up to a new class just because there's nowhere else for them to go. But it seems like this is kind of the MO of this series, where if there's something that it wants to tweak or it doesn't really like very much, instead of just starting that way, even though it's a reboot, it comes up with some kind of amusing, in the spirit of Powerpuff Girls kind of excuse to put us in some kind of a different place with it. And both of the things I'm thinking of, this and also with writing out Miss Keen, there are things that seem like they would be temporary problems. Miss Keen's going on a 1,000-day vacation, and somebody left a comment last week, and I don't know how true this is, I haven't looked into this, and said that the producers don't really like, I said Miss Keen, I meant Miss Bellum, that they don't like Miss Bellum, and so because of the constantly staring at the chest thing, and of course there's a satirical thing there where she's like the brainiest person in the world, but nobody actually pays attention to her face, and I think that's funny and smart satire, and I don't think it's sexist or anything. I think it's making fun of people that are sexist, and I kind of don't think that they needed to write that out, but whatever. That might be the reason they did that. I don't know how much stock we can take in that, and but anyway, even if they don't want that character anymore, and Bye Bye Miss Bellum meant we're writing her completely out of the series, it's odd that we did it with a temporary thing, but that might be the joke. And so this is also a temporary thing where we could go back to that school once we get it fixed. So now they're going to like a junior high or a high school, and the kids there don't like the Powerpuff Girls, and they bully them, and they call them babies and stuff. And then again, at the end, they respect the elderly versions of them. I wish there had been some kind of a follow-up to that, where we discover that they're not just appreciating the elderly versions because they're old people and they do cool old people stuff, but that they actually appreciate these people for people and who they are, and that they care about them, and that they are heroes. But that might be a little bit too much to expect. It would be weird if, going on from this, they're not still bullied, because there was no follow-up to that whatsoever. But again, I don't know how much of a continuity show this is ultimately going to end up being, so I can't really criticize that too much. But my main criticism of this episode is I would have liked to have seen some kind of follow-up to that at the end. I thought the joke about the school being right next to a prison was really funny. Kind of glad we didn't go there, where they have to go to school at the prison. But I liked that shot, and I thought that was really funny. And of course, the traditional high school satire of likening being in school to being in a prison. I really like the throwback to the old intro. It's one of those things where if you didn't watch the original series, it might go over your head, because even though the full version of the new Powerpuff Girls intro, the full music video, includes Sugar Spice and Everything Nice at the beginning, the condensed version for television does not have that. So if you didn't watch the original series, you wouldn't even get that whole gag. But I really liked the narrator at the end of that saying, "But the professor did everything exactly correctly." That was anticlimactic, really. And that whole thing I thought was really amusing. So the professor is working on an antidote to de-age them back, and he accidentally summons or creates a giant, scary, mutated monster thing. That joke didn't really play for me. It didn't really go anywhere. They end up getting along and being friends. Is that maybe a setup for a new supporting character that's going to be like a lab assistant or a friend for the professor? Maybe. I don't want to look too far into that stuff yet, and make those sorts of assumptions, because we have already established some things that haven't come back yet in a show that, again, I don't know if it will ultimately really have a cohesive continuity and be a long form kind of story. But again, we gave the girls new powers in an earlier episode, and they haven't manifested those again yet. So we haven't seen those come back. So I don't know. And then, they do that goofy thing where being elderly instantly makes you want to do old people things, like you actually lived your whole life, and like, just because you got really old wouldn't mean that you suddenly would have this fixation on knitting or something like that. I don't think that's a genetic thing that suddenly you're knitting. But in a cartoon like this, I can get past that, and I can't criticize it, because I think it's making fun of that trope more than it's just doing it. So that's okay. I honestly didn't think this whole situation was all that funny. Again, I feel like I've kind of seen it before. This is definitely kind of toward the bottom of the barrel for me of the latest episodes. I don't think it's great. It's worth it for some of those moments that I thought were absolutely hysterical, like the call back to the original intro, and Mojo in this is really fun. And that's the last thing I'll mention is Mojo comes in and is finally doing more bad guy stuff. I like his motivation. It's very Mojo Jojo, where he's talking to his mom on the phone. I don't remember if his mom was everything in the original show, and he's driving around in a car, and he's telling her to get off the line because he's trying to go on a big on a big spree, a crime spree, in order to steal stuff for her birthday. And I thought that was really funny. And he tries to destroy the Powerpuff Girls, and they do what a very classic Powerpuff Girls thing, although original Powerpuff Girls would have stretched this out. And I kind of expected that, and I kind of was hoping that they would, and they didn't. But where the elderly Powerpuff Girls very dramatically are about to rush Mojo Jojo, and they're moving really, really slowly. And the original show would have played up the dramatic music and made a big deal out of it, and then like stopped and made it very awkward and anticlimactic. And we didn't do that, and I was kind of expecting that. But it was kind of a nod to that kind of humor of the original series. So I guess that was okay. And then like I said, the kids at the end come in that respect Powerpuff Girls as elderly people and help them stop Mojo at the end. It's okay. It's definitely not one of the better episodes so far of the show, but it's got its moments. Anyway, thanks as always for watching. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Primetime Crisis for the Powerpuff Girls. We've got another episode that airs in a couple days, and I will tackle that for you as well a day or two after it comes out. This one's a little bit late. Sorry about that, but I will hopefully get that one out closer to when the new one airs. Anyway, I'm Captain Logan, and thanks again for watching.